Okay, we're learning this evening Lilu Nishmas Chaya Maryland by Eliyahu. This is my Uncle Elliot's daughter. She was nifta. She had lung cancer. She fought it for 20 years. She was nifta, I think, 2 years ago. And tonight's her yard site. And I'm giving up a Suda in Essen for this. And my wife just sent me the menu, and they're offering rib steaks as well.
That's right. Who are they offering? See Yehuda. He's running.
Hey, Yehuda, what happened to you? All of a sudden, you jumped out of bed.
No, I went to get my bib.
We should all go there and have a share.
Yeah, hey. Okay, anyway, so up to the Mishnah on Tzadik Beis Amid Aleph. Tzadik Beis Amid Aleph. Aleph. Should be at least Nishmasa. Poil Kishus Afilu Bediner. A poil who can eat a kishus is a cucumber, even if it's a dinar. Even if it's worth a dinar, which is a large sum. As we're going to see, machlokes, even if it's more than his salary. A kerseves, a date, vafila bedinar. Again, even if it's a dinar. Reb Elazar Chasma Omer, Elazar Chasma says, lo yochel, he says that lo yochel poil yesal schara. He should not eat more than his schar. He said the poil should never eat more than his schar. So in this case, the Tanakam is obviously saying that that you could. Tanakam is saying that you could eat more than you're worth, more than the job that you're doing. And Chachamim matirin, the Chachamim permits. The question is, what's the Chachamim different than the Tanakama? They're both permitting you to go ahead and eat more than you. So Avon Malamdim as Adam, we teach a person, even though you're able to eat more than your schar, don't be a glutton. Because again, you may get a job one time, 2 times, but the curl is going to go out. That guess what? This guy's not worth it. Right? He's not worth it. So therefore, don't do it. So we have 3 shittas. The shittas chachamim, the shittas that you could eat more than your schar. The shittas Rebbe Elazar and Chasma that a person should not, and the chum says you could, but and malamdim. Okay, Fred the Gemara, the obvious question. Chachamim hainu tanakama. They're both permitting you to eat more than the schar. So what's the difference between the Chachamim and the Tanakama? Says the Gemara, Ikebinayu, the difference is Aval Malamdim. That you teach him not to go ahead and do it. The Tanakama less like Malamdim. Tanakama does not hold of Malamdim. It's not necessary. You could eat more and he doesn't have, you don't have to teach him otherwise. And the Rabbanon is like Malamdim. And like the Rabbanon, you need Malamdim. So one nafkamina between the Chachamim and the last sheet in the Mishnah and the Tanakama, the first sheet in the Mishnah, is whether what malamdim or not. Whether you go ahead and malamdim or not, you go ahead and you change them. Okay, that's the first one. Okay, I had something over here, but I know what happened. What? What? I put it somewhere. I don't know where I put it. Okay, anyway, I put the one. Okay, anyway. Iba Yisema, Ikebinayu. Another difference would be what? The Ravasi. The other difference would be Ravasi. The Amar Ravasi, Ravasi is of the opinion, Afilu loy sachroi, Ella, be careful the Lashon, guys. Afilu loy sachroi, Ella liftzar eshkol echad. Even if he only hired him to go ahead and be harvest one cluster. In other words, his whole job is to go ahead and harvest this particular cluster. That's it. That was his job, to harvest this particular cluster. That was his job. Even his job is only to hire to go ahead this particular cluster. That's what he did. Like you can eat it. Can you hear this? You can eat it. Okay, that's the first. Now, where's the nafkamina between the two? Where's it? Is who hold? You're telling me this is a nafkamina. Where's the nafkamina between the two? Right. So let's see Rashi. Tanakama islay the Ravasi. The Tanakama who says that you could eat without even more than the job is would hold like Ravasi. V'hachi kamar poil oichel kishus shehi levada. A poil. We're sticking these words in the Mishnah. a poil can eat kishus, he can eat a cucumber, afilu kashid levada, even though that's the only game in town. The ain oid, even there's nothing else. Afilu he shavadina, even if the cucumber is worth a dina. The asr Rebbe Lazar lemeimar, ben she levada, ben shesachuloi, ulachavreseha, whether you hired her for it or others, im shava yoisal schara lo yachlena. It doesn't make a difference. You can't eat more. You can't eat more. Okay? You could eat more. Where could he eat more? That's if he's a schreyoim. That's if he's hired for a whole job. Less ludavasi. But he was hired for just one cucumber, then not. So another nafkamina between the two. Light the Tanakama who said oichel poil kishus, even one cucumber, guys. Even if you were hired only for one cucumber, you could eat it. Even if you hold only one cucumber, you could eat it. Right? Says the Chacham Basroi, right? You can't. When could you eat more? That's when there's more than one cucumber. But if there's only one cucumber, you can't eat that. And Les Mechasmi says you never can eat more than it's worth. So that's the second nafkamina. First nafkamina would be whether malam them or not. Second nafkamina, if the only game in town is one cluster of grapes or one cucumber, that would be it. So it could be neither Ravasi. Dam Ravasi, I feel like Sakra El Lipzer Eshkol Echad Oichloi. And again, the Gemara doesn't speak at the nafkamina, right? Rashi tells us everything. Rashi says in that case, according to, if that's the only game in town, according to Tanakama, you could eat it. According to both Rev Elazar and the Chacham, you can't eat it. Okay. For Amr Ravasi, another din, I feel like Botzer El Eshkol Echad Oichloi. Even if you only harvested one, you could eat it. Now, guys, what's the difference in case number one and case number two? Case number one, there was only one cluster. Case number two is, in other words, there's more, but you're eating right away. You're eating right away. Good? I feel even if you only harvested one cluster, you're able to eat. Now, again, we got what we want from Ravasi. We're just explaining now a difference, guys. In other words, all we wanted was a nafkamina. We got the nafkamina in learning. We and the teachers to put on the board an aim, they made an idea. I don't know, in my day they did it. Your days they're lucky to have you in the seat, right? Anyway, so the aim we did. What was the aim? What's the nafkamina between the Chachamim and the Tanakama? We got it. Tanakama holds Ravasi, Chachamim don't. Now Ravasi said two cases. One case, the only game in town was one cluster. Second game in town was there are more clusters, but you could eat even after the first one. Why tell me both cases? Now it's going to fit right. B'tzricha. The Ashmin and Hachkamai said the first case, but there was only one cluster. Mishum Dloi Ikol Lamesav Lekelav Shabalabayas. There's nothing to put in the clear Balabayas. So since I have nothing there to put in, I better eat it. I could eat it. First put it in the kli. In other words, I would say the following. The reason why you could eat the first one when it's the only one is there's nothing to put in the clear to Balabayas. But where there's more than one, I would say to have the schus to eat, you had to do some work. So you had to put the cluster into the vessel of the Balabayas. Kamash Malon, you don't even have to do that. Kamash Malon, you don't have to do that. V'yashmin and Baha, the latter case where you have more, the Efshalik Kiyumei Libasayf. Because what? You can possibly go ahead and put in, and you'll put it in the kli of the Balabayas. In other words, therefore I could eat early. So I'm eating one, why can I eat early? So I'll be Mekayim the work later on. Because it's the only game in town. I won't be able to go ahead and put it in the kli because I don't have anything else. I'd say you don't need tzricha. You have to tell me in both cases you could eat. Okay? So now, nafkamina, yeah.
You have a havamina that if there's only one cluster you can't eat it, you're hiring somebody to take a cluster.
Again, it doesn't make much sense, right? It really doesn't make much sense. It really doesn't make much sense. The question is, halachically can you eat or not? That's the question. Halachically can you eat or not? The question does bother me. I mean, from a practical standpoint, going to svara.
Yeah, but havamina, that's why you need both, because if there's only one cluster, might havamina, you can't eat it at all because that's the only thing.
Yeah, that's what the Gemara says. You would think that. You think that you can't put anything in the kli. So Iba Yisema, it could be nai. A third difference, the Rav. The third difference would be what? Would be Rav. The third difference would be Rav. Dama Rav, Matsasi Megillah Starim Bei Reb Chia. I found the Megillah Starim in the Yeshiva Reb Chia. Guys, look at Rashi. He tells about Megillah Starim. This is fascinating historical perspective. Megillah Tamuna, it was a Megillah that was hidden. Why was it hidden? It was also to write down the Torah Shebal Peh. When they would hear something novel, and it might be prone to be forgotten, they would write it down. And they would hide it from the eyes. So they found the Megillah Starim. And I heard Sully Bornstein said something interesting. Rabbi Chia is the one who saved Torah. He was the one who went ahead, made the net, planted the flax, made the net, caught the deer, wrote it down, taught it to 5 kids and everything. So you see that he was also worried about the Torah Shebal Peh. Then he was writing down the Chamisha Chumshei Torah. Here, even the Torah Shebal Peh, he was worried, and he wrote down Megillah Starim. So you see over here that Megillah, that Torah Shebal could be written down. That was for the masses, but for yourself to go ahead and remember, then you could write it down. So said Rav, I found Reb Chia was his uncle. I found among the Megillah Starim it's fascinating, right? Of Reb Chia, I found the following. And what was written? Because of boy, Isi ben Yehuda, Omer. Isi ben Yehuda said, Ki savoi bekerem reyecha, bebias kol adam akasim medaber. The pasuk that says when you go into the field of your kerem, you could eat. Don't put it the kalim, right? Kenapshecha, you could eat. So l'chayra, when was that said? Right, kenapshecha savecha bel kol yichloy thing. That's speaking about kol adam, not a pile. Kol adam said Isi ben Yehuda. Anyone could mashmawat that you can go into the field. Now, where is the nafkamina over here? The Tanakama would not hold of Isi, because the Tanakama, guys, look at the Mishnah. This is Rashi's Pshat. Oichel poil kishais, right? So when Rashi said poil, obviously he doesn't hold of Isi, because what does Isi hold? Anyone. Whereas the Chachamim didn't mention anyone. This is Rashi's Pshat, right? The Chachamim didn't mention anyone. So this would be the third nafkamina. Can a regular Joe go into the field and eat? According to the Tanakama, no way Jose. According to the Chachamim, yes. Again, if you're allowed to go with the pasuk, allowed to go. Just fair. We're going to fair rice. We're going to hang in there. We're going to hang in there. So that would be the nafkamina. Again, so we answered the question, and now let's delve more into this cryptic halacha. For Amar Rav, le'shavik isi chai l'chaberia. He didn't leave any livelihood to anybody. If anyone can go into your field and eat, what are you going to have? Anyone can go in at any time and just eat. What's going to go on over there? So Amar Ravashi, Amiras l'shmaitza kamed Rav Kahana. I said this over, and I said Rav's kasha, and Rav Kahana suggested Dilma ba'oisin b'sudasam the avdu va'achlu. Maybe they're working for this suda. In other words, a poil usually is hired, so he's being paid. Maybe these guys weren't hired. You know what they're doing? Their pay is what? The food that they're eating. So it's not just any Joe that's coming into the field. Isi would not let anyone come into the field. A guy who's going to go into the field and do the work. You know what? What's his pay? You eat. You eat. And that answers the question, right? And you eat. It's speaking about that guy. So that would answer Rav's problem that Isi did not leave what a livelihood to anybody. That's shot. Anyone in the world can just walk into the field. A guy who wants to help with the harvest, he can come into the field and help with the harvest, but he's not going to get paid. What's he going to get? He's going to get a meal. Okay. So Amali said. So Rav Ashi said. Rav Ashi said. I said Amali. He said to me, "I feel inshi laguri agre." A person would rather go ahead and hire a worker, pay and have hire a worker to work. In other words, still it doesn't. He's explaining why it's still a problem at Rav. Even if you're going to tell me it's a guy who's going in and doing work, nonetheless, the person would have a hired worker than any person just working who he doesn't know, and then he's working just going in to help him harvest and get the food. Okay, so now we have 3 nafkaminas, right? We have 3 nafkaminas. The first nafkamina was malamdim or not malamdim. The second nafkamina was what was the second nafkamina was according to Rav Asi whether Tanakama said that you would be able to eat according to Rav Asi. The Tanakama islay the Rav Asi, the Chacham say no, and the third nafkamina is third nafkamina would be Isi ben Yehuda, Rav's nafkamina. According to the Tanakama, he doesn't hold the Isi, only a poil, and the Chachamim would hold even a regular guy can go in, provided he does work. Now, Iboilu, a very interesting shaila. We know a poil can eat, guys, right? A poil can eat. How do you view it? Do you view it that it's his? In other words, he owns it. Or do you view it as Hashem gives him a gift? Nafkamina is, can he give it to somebody else or not? If it's his, he can give it to somebody else. If it's Hashem gives him the gift, then it's only him. So this is Gemara Yiboilahu. Poil mishalahu oichel, umishal shemayim hu oichel. Let's see how Rashi learns, guys. Mishalahu oichel, pesefes scharhu. It's in addition to his schar. Shoysifu leTorah. The Torah goes ahead and adds on. The Torah is adding on to his wages the ability to eat. Oy mishal shemayim. B'matnas gemilas chasodim kisham manas aniyim. Or it's a matana of chesed, like any other matnas aniyim. Right? You go leket shikha peya, and the guy's working. Guess what? You haven't also, but it's a halacha from shemayim, not a din that you own the stuff. Okay. L'may nafkamina, the Omar tenuli ishti ubonai. Give to my son and my wife and my sons. If you're going to tell me the halacha is that what he's eating mishaloi yavinin lahu, then we'll go ahead and we'll give it to to them. The Torah only is mizaka him, wasn't necessarily zaka his. What? By a carbon after what? So yeah, you could, yeah. There's a big difference. By carbon, there's halacha. If you're a kayin, you could eat it. Kachim kadashim only males. If it's kachim kalim, females could eat it. But it's your no. But again, it's the same thing as you. You're part of your family. Over here, it's a unique individual. The carbon's given to with halachas. It's given to kol, and the Torah says it spells out kachim kalim. Even the females could eat it. So you're told who can eat. So even if you can say it's mishulchan gavoya kazacha, right? But Hashem says that what they can eat it as well. Over here, who's Hashem giving it to? I'm asking you a question. Hashem's giving it to you, and only you. That's the difference. Okay, so now says the Gemara. What's the din? Toshma oichel poil kishus. The Mishnah says that poil can eat a kishus is a singular a cucumber. Vafilu bediner. Keseves a date. Vafilu bediner. In other words, you're eating more than it's worth. If you're going to tell me he's eating his own, Dov, this is not your issue, but a little similar to Oige Bedanka, you were rented out for a sixth of a zuz. Ochel bezuzah, you're going to eat a zuz? In other words, right? It's a similar question. It's a similar concept. How could you eat more than you're eating? Meaning the balabas is losing. He's losing. You're eating more than he hired you out for. So Ella must be Mishamayim. In other words, you know why you could eat that much? Because Hashem gave it to you. No one's going to add on. No one's going to add on more. It's like you go to you go get a cup of coffee for $1 and you give the waiter a $2 tip, right? No one's going to do that. So over here, what you got to? If Mishaloi, he's going to be a Taisef as a zuz. When the whole hire was a sixth of a zuz, the dinar and the zuz are the same. Guys, you good? That's the kasha. So you must be that what? Min shemayim zacha. Ve'elamai mishal shemayim hu oichel saif oige bedanka ochel bezusa. Even in shemayim, it doesn't make sense. You know, your complaint is a valid complaint. Meaning, how even for shemayim, how could you eat more than you were hired out for? So that doesn't make any sense. Elamai yisachol meimar rachmana zachile. Right? You have to say the Torah is mezaka to him. Achanami rachmana zachile. And therefore, you have no raya. Ken zayin mishalo zacha, and it was zacha that even if it's yours, it's more. So you have no raya. Tashma from our Mishnah, Rabbi Losach Chasma Omer lo yoichal poil yoisal skari. You can't eat more. The Chacham matirim. My lab b'hakim bifli. This is as far as the machlokes. Again, Rabbi Losach Chasma, you cannot eat more. The Chacham said you could. The masava mishalahu oichel. Rabbi Losach ben Chasma, he's saying that what you can only eat. Right, only eat his own. Umasavar and the Chachamim hold Mishal Shemayim Hu Oichel. In other words, like Rabbi Elazar ben Chasma, since it's his, what does his mean? What he worked, and he worked this much. He's got this value. Like guys, it doesn't make sense to say that you will be able to get more than the wage you were hired for. So if Rabbi Elazar ben Chasma says you don't get more than the wage you were hired for, it must be Bishalohu Zocher. It must be that the Tosefes is up to his wage, but not more than his wage. But if you're going to tell me that he can eat more than its wage, it must be because HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave it to him. So that would be the Svaras HaMachlokes between Rabbi Elazar ben Chasma, who says you can only eat up to your wage. He must hold Mishaloi. And the Chachamim, who says you can eat more, because the Rabbi Shalom is zaking you more. Says Merloi. Everyone tells Mishaloi. So now we have to answer up Rabbi Elazar ben Chasma. You have to answer up the Chachamim. The machlokes is, how do you learn in the pasuk when the pasuk stated kisava b'ken reyecha v'yachalta anofim kinafshecha sivacha? How do you learn pshat in kinafshecha? Right? How do you learn pshat in kinafshecha? So masava Rav Elazar ben Chasma holds kinafshecha b'dava shemaisei nafshe yalav. What a person would be willing to give his nefesh for, right? Says Rashi. You're working. How much would you be willing to put yourself in a dangerous situation? To go up on a ramp, or go up in a tree. In other words, as much as you're willing to put yourself out, which is the wage you were hired for. Again, you were hired to do what? Again, the more dangerous the job, the more money you're going to get. But you're going to get mishaloi, what you deserve, and therefore you can eat more. Umasavar, and the chacham hol kinafshecha has nothing to do whatsoever with a pile eating. It's a limud that we had the other day. Ma nafshecha im chasamta pater, af pile im chasamta pater. That the whole halacha of leisachs m'shabedishar applies by an animal. It doesn't apply by a person. Where do you learn that from? Just like a person can close his mouth and not eat, so too he can close the mouth of his worker and not eat, but not to teach me a din of the wages. And that will be the hezbollah of the machlokes between the two. So again, in the Havamina, Rabbi Elazar ben Chasma said you can only eat up to a certain amount, would hold mishaloi. The Chachamim would hold you can eat more, would hold mishamayim. Says the Gemara, no, mishaloi. It's mishaloi. So what's the machlokes? Like Rabbi Elazar ben Chasma, but only up till how a person's willing to go ahead, Ron, and put himself in a dangerous situation and be hired for that amount. And you can eat up to that amount. And like the Chachamim, you can eat more than that amount. And Kanafshcha is used for a totally different halacha that the din of Leisach Mashah does not apply by a pile.
You only eat while he's in the field.
Correct.
You can't take any of
Correct.
the,
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Can eat in the field. You can't sit down, not bottle. Again, everything. This is all the whole sugya that we did. Tashma. Nasa is working in a vineyard. Not a great idea, right? Not a great idea. It's like, right? So Nasa Sha'amar Tenu Leishti Ubanai. Give the what I could eat, give to my wife and kids. Ain't Shaimim Lo. We don't listen. If he's eating, it's his taisefes, it belongs to him. Why can't he give it to his wife and kids? So you have to say what? That it's min shemayim, but who they give it to? Only him. Says the Gemara, no. The reason why he can't give it is we cancel him. Really, it could be mishaloi, and really he should be able to. But this person did something wrong. He was an alcoholic who decided to go ahead and get a job in a bar. I mean, what are you doing? So we say mishon lech nazira sacha sara lekam leisikrav. We tell him to go ahead. Don't go into the vineyard. Go around the vineyard. Don't go into the vineyard, go around the vineyard, right? Tashma, I think by Shimshon, it says Shimshon came to a vineyard and he went around, it says, and he met a lion, he killed a lion. So they didn't go through the vineyard because then he was a nazir and he couldn't go through the vineyard. So therefore, Einochinami could be Mishaloi. The reason he can't give it to the wife his kids, we cancel him because he shouldn't have taken this job in the first place. Okay. Tashma, let's try to be placed to the Shaila. Poil Sha'amar, Tnu Leishti Ubanai. A poil says, give my wages, give the food to my wife and kids. Ain't Shaimin Loi. V'yamin Mishlohu Eichel, am I ain't Shaimin Loi? So the Gemara says, my Poil Nazir. Guess what? Same guy. But Tanya Nazir, I learned Nazir with Tanya Poil. If it's the same guy, why do you learn two separate prices? Says Midi Gabi Hadadi Tanya. We didn't learn them next to each other. You can ask that question. We learned it in two different locations, and we're learning Pshat. In the Brisa that said Poil, it's a Nazir. Pashma. Minayin lepoil shama tnu liishti ubana shein shaimim loy shenemar vel kelicha loy site. It says, and into your kelim you shouldn't put mashma for you to eat and not to put away. So in other words, the reason why you can't give it to your wife and kids is not to put away. So obviously must be what? It's not mishaloi. What are you going to say? This is a nazir. Why do you bring the pasuk mishum el kelicha loy site? Mishum lech lech aminu nazirahu. We should bring the statement that we told the Nazir to go around. Doesn't mean Einachinami. You're right. We're speaking about the Nazir. Why did you bring that pasuk? I did the Tani La Balashon Poil, Kanasale Kroid the Poil. Since you used the Lashon of Poil, not the Lashon of Nazir, you used the Lashon of Poil. But Einachinami, right? No right. Tashma. Asaycher es Poil. Someone goes ahead and hires a worker. Lichtzeitz Te'enim. He's going ahead and he is going to cut figs for the purpose of drying them out. Again, they had a lot of dried fruit. They didn't have refrigeration like we have. So everything basically was dried. Everything was dried. Meat was very fresh. They used to get together and divide up the animal. They buy different parts of the animal. And the butcher was shechted, and he was an expert in trading. He'd go ahead and take out all the veins and get a nasha and different things. They would take it out. And so they were very, very, careful. So therefore, you go ahead, you hire this Poil to cut Te'enim. So he's going ahead. He can eat, right? And it's patim and amaisa. Now, since the figs were picked, but they're for the purpose of drying out, it's not a gemar malacha. And what's the key to eating? Guys, what's the key to eating? It has to be before gemar malacha, right? The key to eating, it has to be before a gemar malacha. So therefore, it must be that there's no gemar malacha. All right, so oichelu patim and amaisa, and you patim from maisa, because you know gemar malacha lamaisa. However, amanash oichel ani ubanai, I'm taking the job on the condition that I eat and my son will eat. Oh, and this is the one we need. Only my son will eat. Only my son will eat. Right? Whatever I cut. Who oichel, he could eat. Upater. The son can eat, but it's going to be chayiv what in my son. Guys, if you go make a deal like that, it's like your lokeach. What do we say about lokeach? Guys, we said when you buy something, it's like a marmalacha. So therefore, it's like your son bought it. So since your son bought it, be chayiv in Maisa. Now it's min shemayim. How could you sell it? Says the Gemara, "V'am mishalohu oichel b'no am I chayiv." If you're going to tell me, it's not like I said. V'am mishalohu oichel am I chayiv? If you're going to tell me that's his gift, then why is he chayiv? Right? In other words, in that case where I have it, it's mine. I'm giving it to him as a gift. If I'm giving it to him as a gift, then why is he chayiv? It's not, guys. It's mine. I own it. I didn't sell it to him. So I didn't sell it to him. It should be chayiv Maisa. That's the pshat. Again, if you say mishaloi and it's a gift, then he is not chayiv Maisa. If he's not chayiv Maisa, the son should not be chayiv because he received the gift, because it was mine and I was parted from Maisa. I can give it to my son. It shouldn't change. Says the The reason it's gesera because it appears as if it was a sale, and therefore, since it appears as a sale, we mechayiv you. But you can't be punished to the shaila. Tashma. The fourth year of a tree's cycle. The tree, for the first 3 years of its life, is orla. It's asa b'hana. The fourth year is called neter avoy. It has a din of ma'aser sheni. You have to bring it up to Yerushalayim and eat it there. So a person's hired out to work with neter avoy, and he knows, guys, he's working in neter avoy. He knows it. So hari elu lo yoichle. He can't eat. He knows exactly what he got into. He can't eat because it's chutz Yerushalayim. Then and if the owner did not tell him that he's working in a field of fourth year trees, poida, he has to be poida. The owner has to be poida the trees, meaning the fruit, umachilin, and feed him. If you're going to tell me that he only eats mishamayim, amai poida umachilim. Isur umay poida umachilim isur leisach lerachmana. Why are you being poida and feeding him iser? The Torah was not mazaka him. In other words, it's not his. Bishleim, if it's his, guys. Look. Bishleim, you can tell me it belongs to him, but he can't eat it because it's a side problem that it's not the ravoi. We could take off the side problem. Go ahead, be poida and eat it. But if you're going to tell me it's not his, that the Torah is mazaka to him, but the Torah is going to mazaka what? Not the ravoi, and you're being poida, it's asa. He can't eat it. So you're right. Really, you shouldn't be able to go ahead and feed it to him. Really, it could be min shemayim. But guess what? It appears that he's mekach tois. He's kind of, had I known that this field was net the ravoi, I never would have taken the job in the first place. Says the Gemara, Ema Seifa, about the Seifa, Nispasu Egulav. Now, they used to go ahead and take dates and or figs and press them into igulin, iguli devela. We have it above Metzia, right? We have it all the time. There were molds, they pressed them in, and before that point in time, there wasn't a Gemar Malacha. After that, then already that was Gemar Malacha. It was finished. It was finished. What happened was, so if you knew you were going ahead and putting these dates in a press, you could eat. However, once they're in the press, you can't eat. What happened was over here was in the press and it fell out. So now you're going to work to put it back. So this is similar to what? Working in a field of Neter Avoid. If you knew that they had once upon a time been pressed and you can eat from them. So in this Pasru Egulav, let's say the ugle broke apart, meaning the fruit fell apart, or Niftechu Chaviyaisa, or his chavias, his barrel where the wine was in, was opened up and he has to close it. He was hired for that. Since there was a Gemar Malacha L'maisa, in this case, he should not eat it. Guys, there was Gemar Malacha in these cases, right? So since there was Gemar Malacha, the pearl only eats B'shas Gemar Malacha, but after Gemar Malacha Maisa, therefore he shouldn't eat. Now, and if you didn't tell him, then Meiser, you take off Meiser, umachilim, and you feed him. The same question. If you're going to tell me he only eats mishamayim, amay maisu umachilin, isur leisach leirachmana, fellas. Just like in the previous case, net the ravoi he wasn't seicha in. Over here, once it was done, it was gemar malach lemaisa, he wasn't seicha in it. So it must be that what mishaloi was seicha. It can't be mishamayim. It must be mishaloi. Says the Gemara, v'chitema. What are you going to answer? What are you going to say? That it appears like it's a mekach tois. Really, you shouldn't eat min hashamayim. You are zeicha, but to avoid appearing like a mekach tois, he was hired. Bishleim in his pasure gulav. Bishleim when it fell apart. Michse kemekach tois. Fellas, outside, eye contact. You went ahead. You had a gemar malacha. All the dates were in the press. You're hired. What do you see? A bunch of dates. How are you supposed to know that these dates were in the press and now they're out? So obviously there you could tie the mekach tois, right? So I can understand that. Ella nispatchu chaviyosef. When the barrels open, my mekach tois ikka made the yoda the itvalu lemaisa. Since it was what? It was yorid lebar. What happened was, guys, when is the gemar malacha lemaisa? When the grapes are squeezed, and the wine the drips into the vat. At that point in time, it's the gemar malacha. So now you were hired, obviously after that point, because it's in the barrel already. Yeah, guys. So how could you tie in a mekach tois? Obviously, you knew that it was after the maisa, so it must be a raya mishaloi, because if it was misha shemayim, you're going to go ahead and feed a misa. In other words, you can't tie in a mekach tois in the second case. In the first case, where it fell out, the dates fell out, then you could tie in 1 second. I didn't know it was once upon a time in a press. Had I known it's in a press, I never would have worked there because I want to eat. But in the case of where he's going ahead and dealing with the barrels of wine, obviously what? It already had been past the time of Maisa, because the time of Maisa was when it was in the vat, before you put it in the barrels. So what are you going to tie up? You can't tie in a mekach tois. Rav Sheshes, no. You know what it's speaking about? Sheniftechu chavius lebar. In other words, you opened up the chavius to put in the bar. So you're putting up the chavius into the bar, right?
He wasn't in the bar.
No, you opened up to the bar.
Very.
Vatanya yayin mishiyara lebar. You already learned that yayin when it goes into the bar, so it's too late. There's no Kribi Akiva the Amar mishiyikfa. You know when the Gemara Malacha is? When you skim off the junk on the top. So that could be even the Amalei have yadinan. I didn't know. I didn't know that it was skimmed already. You know, I thought I know it's a later time, right? And there's a later time. I didn't know. The name you should have thought about it. Maybe it was skimmed. It says the nugget, the one who goes ahead and draws it from the bar to put in the barrels, mikvah. He's the one who goes ahead and does the. So this guy casts a taina. I'm taking it from the pit into the thing. How can I know it's Gemar Malacha? Maybe because in this place, I'm usually the person who does my job is the one who does the skimming. So again, that's the point. I didn't know there was a Gemar Malacha, and therefore you could taina mekach twice. The hashda tiny Rabbi Savid, debei Rabbi Oishia. Now that Rabbi Savid learned in the Yeshiva Rabbi Oishia, yayin mishi yarid lebar, yayin from the time it goes into the pit, the yikpa, and what? And it's skimmed. Rabbi Kiva Omer mishe yishla b'chavius. Not only you don't skim it from the pit, guys, you skim it in the barrel. Oh, so it's even a later time. It's not speaking where the chavius open to the bar. You know, it's the bar itself. It's the barrel itself, guys. And you know what the mekach tais is? I thought I could skim it and it wasn't finished mice and I could drink it. I didn't know it was skimmed. Right, Dilma Mashli should have known that maybe it was skimmed. It says more, but Asrei the sharik, the one who closes up the chavius who Mashli. In other words, yes, a taina. You hired me to go ahead and put corks in barrels to go ahead and cork up the barrels, guys. Right? You hired me to cork up the barrels. Yeah. You hired me to cork up the barrels. Right? I thought that not only I have to cork it up, I have to skim it as well. And so therefore, I thought I'd skim it. Now you're telling me it's skimmed. I wasn't hired for that. So therefore, it's nifsa kemekah twice. You guys you're tired, right? I have to finish to the Mishnah, but I can wait till tomorrow. It's a hard Gemara, and you guys are nodding out and got to know your crowd. So we'll stop over here.